Good morning. I'm Wendy Huntley, President of Connecting Kids to Meals. Welcome to our State of Childhood Hunger Virtual Summit. This is our second event that we're having, and I'm thrilled that you are joining us today and just appreciative of your time. We are going to have a really fun day today, and I would be remiss if I didn't start out by thanking our sponsors, Venture Visionary Partners, Taylor Automotive Family, and of course, KPM Consulting, Kevin P. Mullen. Thank you so much for the support to make sure that this event is taking place, because we're talking about a critical issue relating to food insecurity and kids. So as I mentioned, I am the president of Connecting Kids to Meals, and our mission is to provide hot, healthy meals at no cost to kids that are ages 18 and under, that are in low income and underserved areas of our community. We've been doing this work for about 18 years, feeding hungry kids. And we've just in the last 18 months served over 1.5 million meals. And we're really focused on making sure that kids have access during this pandemic that continues to rage on. And so we're appreciative of my board. I appreciate my staff. I know I have the best group of folks that help to carry this work out day to day. And so to my staff, thank you for all of your work. We're the largest provider of meals during out of school time in Northwest Ohio. And so I'm very proud of that work that we've been doing. And how we do this work is there are federal child nutrition programs that are in place to actually address this gap in nutrition for kids. And we operate 2 of those programs in order to make sure that kids have access to meals year round. The first program that we operate is the one that's running right now, and that is our after school meal program. And we run that through the Child and Adult Care Food Program, affectionately known as, by those of us who use acronyms, the CACFP program. And we partner with after school programs that offer educational enrichment and fun activities, and have anywhere between 50 to 70 partners, and we're doing anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 meals per day. On average. And so that's an important thing, because we have so many kids that leave school and they don't eat again until they come back to school the next day. But our flagship program is our summer meal program, and that is our utilization of our summer food service program, SFSP. And in that program, we partner with a wide array of partners that are just interested in engaging kids in fun activities, sports, educational enrichment activities. We partner with our city of Toledo for our parks and our pools, sports teams, just again, a wide array, because our goal is to make sure that no kid in our community feels like he or she cannot access healthy meals, because they can. And so we average about 120 to 150 partners and provide anywhere between 6,000 and 7,000 meals per day. Yes, it's a tall order. That's why I started with thanking my amazing staff. It goes without saying that these programs are in place to really be a gap, to help with the gap. But there's also a funding gap. We operate these programs and we receive reimbursement dollars as a sponsor of these programs, but the funding is not sufficient to cover all the costs associated with meals. So thanks to our wonderfully generous corporate partners, the foundation partners we have, our grantors, our individual contributors, our corporate gifters, just everyone that does their part to help us to serve meals. We're so grateful to you, because we can't do this work alone. Can't do the work without the funding. We can't do the work without the partners who are doing the amazing work that they're doing. And so we're so grateful for you. But why do we do this work? We do this work because there's a significant need in our community. We have 1 out of every 4 kids in our community faces hunger on a regular basis. We have about 60,000 kids that qualify for free or reduced meals at our schools in Lucas County. That number's grown, obviously. We're just now waiting for a lot of those numbers to come through as it relates to the work that's done by the school districts every year in gathering that information and reporting it out to the Ohio Department of Education. But we also know that nearly 40% of our kids in the city of Toledo live in poverty. So when we think about the vastness of this problem, we need all the help that we can get, not just at Connecting Kids to Meals, but our schools who provide breakfast and lunch for kids every day, as well as our families that are struggling to make sure that kids have access to healthy meals and have great meals at home. It's a wide ranging issue that we're dealing with in our community. And so we're thankful to be able to stand in the gap and to provide that support. And when we just really look forward to, this discussion today, why is this discussion so important? Well, I just told you, we have all of these things going on, and this pandemic has done nothing but expose the fact that food insecurity is a significant problem, but it's also brought forth a lot of creative and innovative ways in which our community has come together, and amazing work that a lot of our agencies have done to support our kids and our families in need. So today we're really focused on this following process. I wanted to connect everyone. We want to educate folks on what's actually going on at the national level, a snapshot into the state level, and also what some of our local agencies are doing, and to share some resources so that when you leave this conversation, you're able to think, I got something out of spending that hour or so with connecting kids to meals this morning. But it's all about fighting childhood hunger, because a lack of nutrition impairs a kid's ability to learn, grow, and to thrive. And so we have to come together in order to make sure that as a community, we're doing everything that we can do, everything. Leave no stone unturned to make sure that we're doing all that we can do to help kids in our community. So we have a robust agenda. That's an understatement. It's power-packed with some leaders on the national level, the state level, and locally who are doing some great work, and they're here to just share some information with all of us today so that we can get our thoughts rolling, our ideas, and come up with ways in which we can do even more in our community. So get your pen and your paper ready, because you're going to want to take some notes. All right, let me show you. Here's the rundown for the day. We're going to start with a greeting from Mayor Wade Kapsakavich. He's been incredibly supportive of what we're doing. We've got Lucy Melcher Cody she's the director of No Kid Hungry campaign, Share Our Strength. We've got Dr. Romulus Durant, superintendent of our Toledo Public Schools, Vanice Williams, who is not just a city council member, but she also is the owner of First Light Child Care Center. Dr. Kehinde Obeto, who is with Mercy Health Navarre Pediatrics. She's a pediatrician, and she's also the medical director of Mercy Pediatric Residence Continuity Clinic. Brian Davis, who's the assistant director, the Office of Child Nutrition, joins us from the Ohio Department of Education. Robin Reese, the executive director, Lucas County Children's Services, and Bretta Osbourne, director of Lucas County Job and Family Services. I know what you're thinking. This is going to last for 4 hours. I promise you it won't. Please stay engaged. Check out what everyone has to say, and we will circle back for a question and answer session at the end, and we'll also be sharing with you some information about resources that are available right here in our community if you desire to help in this fight against childhood hunger and to really undergird and support kids in our community. So let's get started with a greeting from Mayor Wade Kapsakavich.
Hi, this is Wade Kapsakavich, Mayor of the City of Toledo, and I'm excited that you are joining us for the State of Childhood Hunger Summit. This is an important conversation that shines light on a problem that too many people in our community are dealing with, and that is the roughly 1 in 4 kids in our area who are hungry. They could be part of the 40% of individuals in our area who live in poverty. This is a problem in the best of situations, but I think it is fair to say that childhood hunger is one of the many things that has been exacerbated during the pandemic. When you think of COVID and you think of how it has turned our lives upside down, it's difficult even for we adults to understand and adapt to the changes that have occurred. To a younger person, it's even more daunting when you think of everything that a younger person deals with, from social relationships to academics, fitting in, trying to find your place in the world. All of those things, again, are tough enough. But when you layer in the challenges that COVID presented, it can be really, it can be a lot. It can be tough on kids. And then when you layer on top of that, not knowing where your next nutritious meal is going to come from, then you start talking about challenges that not only are difficult to overcome, but can provide lasting negative impacts if they're not addressed early in life. In other words, if you find yourself without access to nutritious meals in your younger years, the problems that causes can be with you for a lifetime. That's why the State of Childhood Hunger Summit is so important. That's why the City of Toledo is so fortunate to have a wonderful working relationship with Connecting Kids to Meals. And that's why that I personally am looking forward to the conversation we're having today. So again, on behalf of the City of Toledo, welcome, and let's have a great discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, our mayor has been incredibly supportive of youth initiatives in our community and rolled out a comprehensive list of activities for our kids this past summer. And I know that they're already fast at work figuring out what additional activities, programming, and fun things they can offer for kids in this community, along with meals. So we're excited to have that greeting, and we appreciate Mayor Kapsakavich for his support. Next, we're going to move on to Lucy Metcher-Cody. Lucy is the director of the No Kid Hungry campaign at Share Our Strength, which is a national anti-hunger program and organization. And in this role, she oversees strategy and implementation of state-based campaigns working to end childhood hunger throughout the entire United States. She previously served as the Director of Government Relations and Advocacy for Share Our Strength, starting the organization's federal and state programs to engage the public in support of child nutrition programs. Prior to that, she managed government relations at the American Public Health Association, working on issues related to women's health and public health funding. She's also worked on health policy for US Senator Jeff Merkley, including supporting the work to pass the Affordable Care Act. Thank you for that, and welcome, Lucy.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here today. To follow the mayor is a great honor. Just really honored to be with all of you, and just so excited to chat and end 2021 on this really positive, warm note. I'm getting, excuse me, over a little bit of a cough and allergy, so excuse me if I have to take a few sips of water as I present today, but really excited to be here. We are so proud to partner with all of you in this work and are just so impressed by the amazing work that you're doing on behalf of kids in Ohio. As Wendy shared, I serve as director of the No Kid Hungry campaign for Share Our Strength. We're a national anti-hunger organization. We work across more than 35 of our No Kid Hungry campaign states to develop strategies and plans to end childhood hunger, including with so many wonderful partners in Ohio. So glad to see all of you today. And it really goes without saying that our work in many ways has been completely transformed and transformative over the last 2 years. All of our worlds have been turned upside down. We've seen everyday heroes emerge from every single corner of our communities, from staff at food banks who have been packing meals nonstop, school nutrition teams changing their entire programs overnight to reach kids who were learning at home, summer and after school meal sponsors coming up with new, safe, and accessible ways to reach kids, legislators and elected officials who have supported critical nutrition programs, and everyone who has shown up in any way to feed kids. And to all of you here who fit in any of those categories, a huge thank you. So what have we learned since March of 2020, and where are we today, and where are we going? And that's what I want to just spend a few minutes talking about today. So the bottom line, childhood hunger nationally, and of course here in Ohio, is an incredibly serious concern. But now more than ever, we know what works and how to create transformative change to end hunger. Today, 1 in 6 kids in the United States faces hunger. And as Wendy shared, that number is even higher in Toledo and across Ohio, where about 22% of children live in food insecure homes. We know that when children go hungry, their health and education outcomes suffer. Kids facing hunger are more likely to experience toxic stress, which can affect their developing brains and bodies. And they're more likely to face health problems, and it can be harder to learn and focus in school. And it becomes harder to escape the cycle of poverty. Hunger and poverty are considerably more prevalent in communities of color, with Black and Latino children living in households below the poverty line at much higher rates than white children. The impact of this pandemic has been much worse in these communities and for many of these families. And it is a moral imperative that any work we do to address hunger in this country is thinking about this front and center. Pre-pandemic, we were making great progress in ending hunger. And COVID dealt a terrible blow to that progress and tore a hole in our economy. And we expected that poverty and hunger would skyrocket, and we would see numbers like we saw in 2008 after the Great Recession. But that didn't actually happen to such a massive degree. And why is that? Because the programs and policies that we put into place worked. Congress and USDA gave school meal programs the flexibility to meet kids where they were with breakfast, lunch, and after school meals. Community sponsors had waivers to expand eligibility requirements for where they could serve meals. PEBT benefits and increases in SNAP benefits went directly to families to buy groceries and keep pantries full. And the child tax credit was a historic investment in families. These are all programs designed to help families get back on their feet and support in times of need. And they worked exactly as intended. So where does that leave us moving forward? We have to keep this momentum going to make sure that any increases we've seen during the pandemic are immediately reversed and we get back on track to actually ending hunger in this country. And there's 3 ways that I think all of us can work together to do that. The first is to urge USDA to extend waivers so that child nutrition operators, schools, and community organizations have the flexibility to continue running successful programs that reach kids no matter where they live. A child's zip code should never determine whether or not they can access meals. Second, we need to push Congress to pass the Buildback Better Act. This legislation includes historic once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to reach kids with meals. The Buildback Better Act does several things that I want to touch on and share its importance. First, it strengthens the Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP, which would help more than 26,000 new schools provide free school meals to more than 9 million kids. CEP, as many of you know, helps schools reach kids with healthy meals so that they can focus on learning and not just their empty stomachs. The Buildback Better Act would also expand summer EBT from just 5 states to all 50, including Ohio, of course. Summer EBT provides parents and caregivers an additional benefit to buy groceries in the summer months. Making summer EBT available nationwide could help nearly 30 million kids get the nutrition they need when schools are closed. The Buildback Better Act would also extend the expanded child tax credit beyond just this year, which could cut child poverty by more than 40%. The expanded CTC is already serving more families than ever before with a monthly refund to help pay for necessities like food for their pantries, rent, diapers, and utilities. But if Congress doesn't extend this program past this year, 27 million kids will lose out on receiving the full benefit. We're already seeing the results of the CTC. Census data shows that it lifted 3.6 million children over the poverty line and had an immediate impact on hunger, cutting the number of families reporting not having enough to eat by nearly 1/3. Parents reported using their money for basic necessities like food and rent and clothing. And many also reported using it for emergency savings, childcare, or starting a college fund, which could have meaningful impact on social mobility, helping families and future generations to find a path out of poverty. Passing the Buildback Better absolutely essential to our work. And third, we need to continue to raise awareness about these programs and child hunger and make sure that families know about access, benefits and programs that are available to them and know how to access them. So if I leave you with one message today, it's to keep that drumbeat up. Call your elected officials and ask them to pass the Buildback Better Act and support policies to keep these programs strong. Reach out to your networks about the importance of child nutrition programs. Make sure folks know how to access the programs that are available to them, and keep doing all of the work that you're doing to serve your community and feed kids every single day. We at No Kid Hungry are so proud to be your partners in this work, and thank you so much for the amazing work that you're doing on behalf of Toledo.
Lucy, my goodness, what a way to kick this off. We appreciate those very insightful comments and just all of the wonderful information and data that you provided, and as well as the encouragement. You know, we are equally proud to have No Kid Hungry as a partner at Connecting Kids to Meals and as part of supporting this community. So thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will again take some questions. So drop your questions if you have questions for Lucy in the chat box, and we will make sure closer to the end when we actually open it up for question and answers that we will actually address those. So thanks so much again, Lucy. Next, we have Dr. Romulus Durant, Superintendent of Toledo Public Schools. You know, TPS Proud is not just a catchphrase for Dr. Durant. It actually is everything he says he does and in fact wears. And so Dr. Durant shows pride that he has in our hometown schools and the pride that he has in developing and continuing to move forward the vision of excellence for our school district, and his belief that, you know, we need a high standard for students to achieve. You know, he's a native of Toledo and a proud graduate of Wade High School and the University of Toledo. He holds a number of accolades and degrees and honors, and we're just excited to have him not just as our superintendent, but have his words of encouragement for today. Dr. Durant.
Hello, this is your superintendent here at Toledo Schools, Dr. Romulus Durant, here to bring great acknowledgement as well as praise and thank you to Connecting Kids to Meals. Mrs. Wendy Huntley, the executive director, has done a phenomenal job. We have worked many years with her in regard to having an impact and making a difference of many of our students. We have worked along the lines of providing free breakfast as well as free lunch, how to develop strategies in a way that we can subsidize more in our reimbursement, but more importantly, being able to feed 100% of those kids in elementary schools would make a huge difference. I can tell you when it comes to social emotional needs, if children are not eating, they're not learning. And at the end of the day, in order for us to move the progressive dial when it comes to education, Connecting Kids to Meals is a huge player and a huge partner in the success and all that. So hats off to every one of you who are part of this organization. We're all continuing to take part in the annual summit. COVID may be here, but at the end of the day, we're still coming together to keep this movement going. At the same time, when COVID being and hitting the school district, we have passed out over 20,000 Chromebooks for students, over 5,000 to 6,000 hotspots kids to have connectivity and Wi-Fi connection, literally trying to get them up to speed in a digital age. But again, this doesn't happen through the works and partnerships such as agencies such as Connecting Kids to Meals. And again, I can't say enough for this organization. Continue to do God's work, continue to keep up the good fight. We will always be here, Toledo proud, PS proud.
Thank you, Dr. Durant. I actually didn't tell him to say all of that about Connecting Kids to Meals, but we are grateful for our partnership with Toledo Public Schools. We are grateful for our partnership with other school districts, Washington Local, Springfield, Sylvania, you name it. You know, again, our job is really to reach out and to really support any and every kid that's in need. So Dr. Durant, we're grateful for your support of this event, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with you. Next, we have Venice Williams. Venice is not just one of our Toledo City Council members, but she is also the owner of First Light Child Care Center. And Venice is, you know, currently the owner and administrator of First Light. And it's an early child learning center that serves ages 6 through 11 years old, as well as she serves as, our District 4 councilwoman for the city of Toledo, which happens to be the district that Connecting Kids to Meals is in. So she's very helpful and very instrumental in helping us to do a number of things. And she's held several leadership positions over the years while working, in the education sector for 21 years, serving, children from infancy to 22 years old. She holds an Ohio teaching license with a career-based intervention endorsement, real estate license, Master of Arts. She's just a Jackie of all trades, right? And we are just so thrilled to have, Venice here today to help and to provide some context as it relates to some of our childcare center work that's being done here in our community. So Venice, please share with us some of your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and it's definitely an honor to be asked to speak here today as a child care owner. But I would be remiss to say that I actually was a child that suffered from hunger and homelessness. So this is something that is very important in my work. I ran a dropout recovery school, which was a high school that serves 16 to 22-year-olds to get their high school diploma. We worked diligently to tackle the systems that were put in place that kept poverty, kept African Americans in poverty, kept our brown Latinas and Latinx in poverty. The struggle has been real, but we fight every day to combat systematic racism for the systems that have been put in place for communities of color. Being a school leader and learning what deficits kids faced all their lives, all the way up until 22 years old, definitely showed me I needed to start over. I needed to reach our parents of our young kids as early as birth. So I decided to leave the high school to open a child care center, to start at the beginning, to tackle some of the deficits there that the parents may have and that the students may have. I love kids. I actually also partnered with Connecting Kids to Meals, and I'm going to give you guys a shout out as well when I first opened, because opening a child care center in the middle of a pandemic. We opened July 20th of 2020. So we had a lot of hurdles, and just knowing that we had to provide food for our kids was something that was number one on the list. Before I even opened, I reached out to sponsors and food programs with Connecting Kids to Meals. They got us started out early on. So I definitely appreciate the partnership there. Knowing that I have young adults that I actually taught at my previous position come in with their children here, knowing that they know their kids are going to be fed good quality food. And it's definitely brought full circle to what my life purpose is, and it is to take care of our children, making sure that this system understands that it needs to be broken and redone all the way. So I appreciate all the connections that I've made to provide quality meals to our kids. Now, to put on my other hat as a city councilwoman for one of the most impoverished districts in Toledo, working to make sure that not only do we have quality food in the schools, we need to make sure they have quality food at home. So when you think about having quality food, you think grocery stores, you think grocery stores with quality food, but some of our kids are restricted to just shopping at convenience stores for food. We need to make sure that we reach out to anyone we can to focus on getting quality foods and fresh foods, even focusing on urban farming in the inner city, because we are the hardest hit when it comes to a pandemic. The pandemic highlighted what our losses were. Having a food desert in the middle of a pandemic and having to go to a convenience store to get non-quality foods. it is definitely detrimental, and it definitely affects the child's willingness to learn, because if you're hungry, you're not going to sit and learn. You're not going to behave. You're not going to listen. You're hungry. You're going to cry out for help. And I'm just so glad that we have so many people to answer that cry. I definitely know there's a plan and purpose for my life, and apparently for all those that are on this call, to help our kids, because one thing that is definitely, it's cliche, but it's true. Our kids are our future, and we have to focus on that future. We have to make our neighborhoods better, and that's my focus on city council. But as a child care center owner, no child that I affect here at this center will grow up as I did, hungry. That's one thing they will not. Hunger will not be a debilitating factor for here. If we have to provide food for home, we do that here. Me and my staff actually gave food away for Christmas last year, gave food away. We give food away every weekend. We do weekender bags based off what we get from our sponsors. So I definitely appreciate all the work that Connecting Kids to Meals has done to help me and also our kids in the city. And I definitely appreciate what the state of Ohio is doing when we're pushing forward on fighting child hunger, because this is a system that we must break. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. We appreciate those comments. We appreciate your passion. And, you know, as someone who is in this fight to make sure that kids have access and equitable access, I appreciate your comments. So thank you for joining us today. Next, we have Dr. Kehinde Obeto. Boy, oh boy. She is a pediatrician at Mercy Pediatrics in Oregon and serves as the medical director of the Mercy Pediatric Residence Continuity Clinic. She received her medical degree from the University of Lagos College of Medicine and has been a pediatrician for 21 years. She treats children, infants, and adolescents to meet the unique needs of these kids and throughout all of their developmental stages as they grow and mature. So we are simply thrilled to have you with us today. And for this segment with Dr. Obeto, we're actually going to have a conversation. And so she and I are going to just talk a little bit about, in particular, the impact on our children when they don't get enough healthy food. Welcome, Dr. Obeto.
Thank you, Wendy, for having me. And thanks for all you and your organization are doing.
Thank you so much. So, you know, let's talk generally just about the impact on kids when they lack nutrition. Some of the things that you want this group to be aware of that happen when kids don't get enough nutritious food to eat.
Okay. So usually when I think about kids that lack nutrition, I think not only about kids that are undernourished, but I also think about kids that eat unhealthy foods. That being said, hunger and undernutrition could lead to failure in education, and results have shown that about 17% of kids who lack nutrition actually fail a grade in school or enter school later than their well-nourished counterparts. Childhood is usually the most crucial time, with birth to 5 years being the most crucial time for development. And this is when the child's brain grows the fastest. So we have found out that anything that disrupts the brain growth during this time could lead to developmental delay. And this developmental delay could affect any of four things. It could be learning, it could be physical, motor development, it could be social development, it could be emotional development. So anything that causes lack of nutrition could affect the child's development in any of these four areas.
I assume you see that. Do you see that on a regular basis, or has that increased? Seeing kids that you see with these impacts during the pandemic?
Well, that has definitely increased. So during the pandemic, I've seen a lot of kids they've had a lot more emotional issues and a lot more social insecurities. They've had trouble with learning, they've had mental issues. I think part of it too has to be with the fact that they had to be home and they weren't really in school. So that kind of affected their emotional and psychological development as well. So I've seen increase in cases of autism, ADHD, depression is for sure, and a lot of anxiety as well, especially with the teenagers. With the younger kids, it's more fear, like fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing who you are, like because they haven't been exposed to that socialization skill aspect of life. So they have more of like a stranger anxiety. But definitely I've seen a lot of problems with ADHD, depression, anxiety, paranoia, and then social behavior as well is affected.
So when we think of just the ramifications of a child not getting healthy meals on a regular basis, the impact is wide ranging, as Dr. Obeto has just shared. So what are a few things that a parent or a caregiver can do better to ensure that kids are getting the nutrition that they really need?
The first thing I'll say is they should realize that healthcare providers or people who come in contact with parents should help them realize that there are resources out there that they could tap into, which is one of the most important things. The other thing is to educate the parents. I try to educate the parents. The main thing is about the difference between healthy and unhealthy foods. So it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, he's eating, we have access to food, but if the food is unhealthy, then it's not good for him either. So I try to educate them about healthy and unhealthy food, eliminating unhealthy foods in their diet. Sometimes I tell them, take away the soda in the homes, encourage more water, give fresh fruit rather than juice, because even if you have to freshly squeeze it. So I know a lot of the time, the healthy foods are more expensive, but in the long run, if the kids have access to healthy meals, then they have access to healthy foods, and this helps them in the long run. I say, it's not just about their mental health, it's also about their physical health and their dental health as well. So I say they should limit the candy because this could cause caries, limit fast foods, or if they can, no fast foods at all. They do regular dentist visits, regular pediatric visits. Also, I try to educate them about the short-term and the long-term effects of lack of nutrition or unhealthy nutrition, like increased cases of diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and even asthma. And then now, not to talk about, so kids that have that lack nutrition are definitely not going to want to learn. So, or not that they don't want to learn, they're definitely not going to be able to learn because it decreases their mental capacity. And this in turn leads to poor academic performance. So some of the kids that we see that are not doing so well in school is actually because they lack nutrition, and then everything else goes downwards from there.
Yeah, it's daunting when you really think of all of the things that, many of our kids, thousands of our kids, as we talked earlier, that actually are just challenged because of the circumstances their families find them in, needing to choose between paying rent, paying for utilities, putting gas in your car to go to work, and putting healthy food on the table. We applaud you for, not just, taking care of our little ones, but taking that next step and making sure that at least you're doing your part to educate the parents so that hopefully the home is better. We can do everything we can do from the schools to provide healthy meals, from sponsors like Connecting Kids to provide healthy meals, but it also includes the family and helping them to understand the impact of some of those unhealthy foods and high caloric, low nutrient foods that oftentimes we reach for because sometimes they just taste better, right? we think they taste better, but at the end of the day, it is about long-term health conditions because, tell me if I'm on target. Are some of the things that some of our kids face from a health-related issue due to lack of nutrition, things that can stay with them for the rest of their lives?
Oh, yes, it is. So things like the diabetes and the high blood pressure and the heart disease, even osteoporosis, which is like easily breakable bones, are things that start now but affect them down the road.
Well, thank you. You have, I know the notepads are full of information at this point, and so we appreciate what you do at the clinic, and we appreciate you taking the time out to share some of these thoughts with us today. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Excellent. Next, we're going to jump up to the state level. I know it probably feels like we're bouncing all around, but we're trying to get a lot of stuff done in a short amount of time to give you as much information as we can about this issue of childhood hunger. So next up, we have Brian Davis. Brian is the Assistant Director of the Office of Child Nutrition at the Ohio Department of Education. And Brian is joining us today, and we asked him to participate because the Ohio Department of Education, if those of you that don't know this, it's the oversight agency for those of us who are operating federal child nutrition programs. So when you think of our school districts that are operating the National School Lunch Program or our charter schools, you think of sponsors that are providing meals during out of school time, like Connecting Kids to Meals through our after school meal program and our summer food service program. You think of these kinds of programs, and the Ohio Department of Education is the oversight agency to make sure that we remain in compliance with the nutrition requirements that USDA has handed down, as well as all of the programmatic and food safety requirements that are necessary to run these programs. So Brian, thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on board. Could you start with just sharing a little bit more about your background?
Absolutely. And first, I will definitely say thank you for inviting us at the Ohio Department of Education to participate in this. We really appreciate it. I will say that I am also very thankful to be following Dr. Albedo. That information that was provided, I was definitely writing much things down. Every time we have the opportunity to share an event or a stage with a pediatrician, everybody in our office takes a lot of notes and makes sure that we share that information with all the schools and sponsors in our programs. I have been working with nutrition at the Department of Education for about 10 years now. And over the course of that time, if you all take any one word, if you can only take one word away from what I tell you today, it is that I have learned about the value of partnerships. Partnerships is the word of the day. And we have a lot of good partners at this summit right now, from the local sponsors that are serving the meals directly to the kids, like Connecting Kids to Meals, as well as the No Kid Hungry campaign at a national level, doing that advocacy work and providing guidance and summarizing all of the different things that go on in the different states. All of the states in our country participate in these programs, but the programs are different in every state. The one thing we are all unified around is the idea that everybody agrees we don't want to see children go hungry. As Dr. Albedo said, and as has been a focal point from the Ohio Department of Education in our strategic plan, Each Child, Our Future, to the Whole Child framework that we have released, meeting the needs of the whole child, including nutrition, is a vital part of our role as the Ohio Department of Education and the supports that we provide to our schools and our sponsors in the Child and Adult Care Food Program and in the Summer Food Service Program. And I appreciate Wendy noting that there are a lot of acronyms involved, a lot of shorthands in these programs. We've got pages upon pages of acronyms. It is a lot to sort through for our partners that are our sponsors in our schools. I also really appreciated the message from Superintendent Durant about meeting the needs of the whole child, ensuring that the children have food in order to have academic success. And not just food, as Dr. Albedo said, but nutritious food. That has been one of the focal points and will be one of the focal points for our office into the future. We know that these last 2 school years have been unique challenges, is how I'll put it. Also unique opportunities. We have seen so many districts and so many Child and Adult Care Food Program and Summer Food Service Program sponsors step up, innovate, adapt to these dynamic and changing circumstances. We have learned a lot about better ways to connect kids to meals, to give you another shout out there. We have learned so much we have found new ways to adapt. Early on, it was challenges about how do we ensure social distancing? How do we get remote learning to work? As Superintendent Durant mentioned, how do you ensure that children have access to computers and internet in order to do remote learning if a school building has to close down in an emergency circumstance? So many thousands of people around the state, both at the school level and in the communities, have stepped up and have really made the difference impacting these kids' lives. Lately, we have seen real issues with supply chain disruptions. It has really impacted schools and CACFP and SFSP sponsors just in getting the food that they need in order to serve those meals. That has become a real challenge. And again, a lot of folks have stepped up fabulously to meet those needs. And it's not just food. A lot of foods you can't eat without utensils or plates or trays to serve them on. And that has also been a real challenge. To put it into context for those that might not experience all of those challenges, remember at the beginning of the pandemic, when you could walk into a grocery store and see, wow, where's all the toilet paper and paper towels? Those same concerns that led to those issues are now affecting school food service, summer food service program, child and adult care food program. But that is not to say that there are not people working on it. We at the Ohio Department of Education in our office, we have regular meetings, not only with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to talk about alternative ways to access food, such as the USDA Department of Defense Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program and other supplemental programs like that, but also what is happening and can happen at the national level and at the state level to assist with just making those connections, forming partnerships. We talk frequently with the manufacturers of the foods and the distributors of the foods, everything about the supply chain. I tell you what, if you ever wanted a crash course in exactly everything that happens to get the food from wherever it is grown to the table that it is served on, come join us for some of our meetings in the Ohio Department of Education on our supply chain team. There is a lot going on, and what I want to recognize right now is the tremendous efforts that all of our schools and sponsors are making in order to do just that. There is so much taking place right now, so many people innovating ideas. I think we are better now at solving these complex problems and getting creative than we ever have been in the history of these programs. And that is a credit to the dedication of all the advocates, all the staff from the cooks to the directors. Everybody that is involved is really stepping up and forming those partnerships within the communities. It is the partnerships and the communication that gets us through this, making sure that we know and we are connected to all of those resources that are available to help meet the needs of the whole child. And again, I will just say thank you so much for inviting us at the Department of Education to talk with you. And we would love to connect with you. Please reach out to us through our social media, or you can look us up. We have dozens of offices here to help you in the Department of Education, including the nutrition team. And I just want to say thank you for inviting us.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. And we know that, you know, when you sit in that oversight role, there's a lot involved in making sure that you're, you know, doing what USDA wants you to do, but also making sure that we remain as sponsors and as, you know, school districts and charter schools, that we're remaining consistent with the high standards that have been established. And so, you know, we appreciate you. It's not been easy for any of us. And so, you know, just on behalf of, you know, our community and the work that we're doing, you know, we appreciate what you guys are doing at the Ohio Department of Education. And I love that. Each child, our future. It is so true. And I do appreciate you bringing up the issue associated with the, you know, the supply shortage. It can really be a real challenge for all of us. And so we're trying to navigate around that and do everything that we can do to make sure that kids have access to the meals that they need. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. Next up, we have Robin Reese. Robin is the Executive Director of Lucas County Children's Services. Robin is, you know, leading this county agency that is responsible for protecting children from abuse and neglect. She was named the director by the agency's Board of Trustees in March of 2016 after serving as the interim director since September 2015. But she has a long history with this agency since 1984, rising through the ranks, starting as a caseworker and so on. And so she is definitely a person who is responsible and takes on the charge for ensuring, that every child that needs to live away from his or her biological parents has an appropriate place to live. So she has just been, instrumental in trying to rescue some of our children that are in need. And, Robin and her staff do an amazing work. She's a longtime Toledoan, and she's earned her bachelor's degree in sociology from the Ohio State University, and a master's degree in social work from the University of Toledo. Robin Reese.
My name is Robin Reese, and I'm the Executive Director of Lucas County Children's Services. As most of you know, our role in the community is to lead the community in the protection of children. And we do that in collaboration with lots of agencies in our community. Their families are facing tough times, and we see that that is reflected in the work that we do. One of the challenges for us, honestly, has become poverty and children having to live in poverty in our county. And that is a challenge because in child protection, sometimes the consequences of poverty get confused with neglect. Many of the cases involved in child protection are around neglect, and they stem from issues around housing and food insecurities. And so one of our challenges, because we're not an agency that is in the food business, our challenge is to collaborate with organizations in our community that can fill some of those gaps. Like I said, including housing, food insecurities, and all the things that are involved in poverty. And so to be able to collaborate with agencies that provide food to kids in our community is just wonderful. Again, lots of kids in our community are in need of services. We have worked diligently in this agency to change our image. Most people see child protection, they have in the past, as agencies that just take children from families. We've worked very hard in our community to become a agency that people see as a helping agency. And so part of that is reaching out to the community. And when we reach, we want to give them things that they need. And again, part of that is really building these great collaborations with other agencies. When kids don't have food, it affects their education. It even affects their lifespan. And so it is critical, again, that we partner with agencies, that this is their mission and their goal is to feed our community. And so one of the things that we've done also, and this was very critical during COVID, is trying to get inside of people's homes and having meals to take with us, I think was critical in getting some of those doors opened. And so again, we lead the community in the protection of children, and we do this in collaboration with many organizations. And as I said, food insecurity is really critical to the work that we do. We don't want families to lose their kids because they don't have food. Families shouldn't lose their kids because they're poor. Food insecurity is a consequence of poverty. Poverty is not neglect. And so having a collaboration with an organization like Connecting Kids to Meals is just, it's been really a lifesaver. We were so thankful in order to make that connection with them, because it has not only been helpful to our families, but it's been helpful to us because it's another offering that we have to families. And so again, it takes these kind of great collaborations to honestly help families in our community. We know that bringing in hundreds of kids into our system is not sustainable and it's not good for families. And so again, this kind of collaboration is an absolute blessing. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't, as the Director of Children's Services, talk about the need for caregivers, not only, you know, non-related, but related also. One of our greatest challenges right now is finding families that are willing to take kids in to foster and adopt. And so I'm going to use this time also to challenge families in our community to come forward. The need is still great. And so please step up. You know, there used to be an old saying, open your heart, open your home. And so I'm putting that back out there again. So the need is great. Come forward.
Robin knows that she has the latitude to use any time that she wants to talk about the great work of Lucas County Children's Services. Thank you, Robin. We appreciate those comments. And, you know, one of the growing trends that we see, and, you know, Robin also echoes when we have conversations, is that, you know, there are a lot of grandparents caring for kids now. And that's a challenge, whether it's because of opioid abuse or, you know, other challenging issues that have caused those grandparents to have to step forward. That is another component. And so, you know, we work with another great agency in this community, Area Office on Aging, with Director Billy Johnson, to make sure that, you know, we're sharing resources with the grandparents. And it really does take everybody to really recognize that we have a significant issue in our community and that we're going to need everybody to participate and help some of our youngest and most vulnerable residents. So our last presentation is from Bretta Osbourne, who's the Director of Lucas County Job and Family Services. Bretta's been with the agency for a number of years, and in 2019 was appointed as the director after serving as the interim director. She has an accounting career as a background, and, you know, throughout her tenure from 2006 forward, she was involved in fiscal compliance and a wide array of things associated with the annual budget compliance, information systems, contracts, et cetera. The agency provides services for families and taps into some of the federal programs such as TANF, SNAP, Adult Protective Services, subsidizing childcare, and so much more. So we now welcome Bretta to provide some additional comments on this topic.
Hi, I am Bretta Osbourne. I am the Director of Lucas County Job and Family Services, which includes the Child Support Division here in Toledo. I couldn't be more pleased to have been asked to participate in this event. It's a super important topic that we probably don't talk enough about. Here in Lucas County, we administer public assistance programs as well as the child support services, public assistance being things like food assistance, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which is probably more commonly known as food stamps. We also issue Medicaid benefits, subsidized childcare, PRC, adult protective services, lots of services we have here at our new shared campus. 3737 West Sylvania by Franklin Park Mall. We are co-located with the Ohio Means Job Center, which provides a lot of opportunities to provide better services to our community, and we're excited about that. But the topic at hand today is SNAP and how it impacts Lucas County families and children in particular. So at any given time, we have approximately 75,000 Lucas County residents who are receiving SNAP benefits. That is about 18% of the population. So hunger and food insecurity is a major issue for us locally. About half of those recipients are children, almost half. So it's incredibly critical that we are getting these benefits to the families and children who are eligible to receive them. We know that children need proper nourishment to grow and learn, and we don't want kids going to bed hungry. So during the pandemic, well, we're still in the pandemic, but I think at the height of the initial wave in spring of 2020, we actually saw The number of SNAP recipients hop up to over 90,000 here in Lucas County, which is more than 20% of the population. So you're standing in a room with 5 people and at least one of them theoretically is receiving food assistance because they simply make an insufficient wage in order to properly feed themselves and their families. So other things that we do here in Lucas County, Job and Family Services specifically, we actually invest almost $7 million annually into programs that other nonprofit organizations, community providers, governmental entities provide to the families that we serve. So temporary assistance to needy families allows us to fund these programs, and food is often a critical component for those programs that are serving youth. Because we know that oftentimes it may be the only meal that they're getting before they go home for the day. So it's important work. We're constantly advocating for additional funds here in Lucas County to do a better job of the critical work that we do. And any questions at all, I would be happy to entertain them at any time. Please feel free to get a hold of me. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Excellent, Bretta. Thank you so much for your support of this event and for all the work that you all are doing over there to help undergird some of our families in the community that are struggling. So we are going to run through a couple of quick items. I promise you, I wanted to get you out of here on time, and I'm going to be true to that. But I want to jump over to just talk for a moment, because this has been rich conversation. But I want to talk just a moment about ways in which you can locate resources. If you're a provider, if you're someone that's providing programming for kids during after school, you're trying to provide something during the summer months, you have a sports team, or you have something going on, or you're doing some critical work in this community, in particular as it relates to food insecurity for kids, as well as other programmatic things that are focused on kids, I want to encourage you, look at the local funding resources that we have. This is absolutely not an exhaustive list. Tried to kind of categorize some things into buckets for you, and I'll give you some examples of some of these other folks that, specific folks in those components. So when we think of our foundations and our granting organizations and donor advised funds and so forth, first to mind obviously comes Greater Toledo Community Foundation with all the resources and contacts and funds and assets that they have under their umbrella. United Way is another. France Stone Foundation is another small foundation that supports a lot of work being done in this community. Secondly, you got your corporations. Please don't be afraid to reach out to corporations. You will find that they are very sensitive to community-related issues. They have community departments, community outreach individuals who are assigned to figure out what's going on in our community and figure out how to help. That many have their own designated foundations to do this work through, this donation through. So some of those organizations are absolutely friends of ours, of course, along with some of the foundations, Owens Corning, Anderson's, Dana, Kroger. We have a wide array of corporations in our community that are concerned about our community and concerned about childhood hunger and programming that can be implemented in order to help with the child. We also have our financial institutions, obviously, our Fifth Third Bank. We've got Huntington Bank and PNC and Key and Farmers and Merchants. I mean, we have a wide range of them, even, partnering with, Toledo Urban Credit Union, Federal Credit Union. We have to think outside of the box when we think about trying to get the support that we need in order to do the work that is happening in the trenches. Healthcare systems, obviously, we've got Mercy Health and ProMedica, and we've got NHA, and we've got McLaren. We've got a wealth of large healthcare systems that are standing ready and willing to help in this fight against childhood hunger. You heard earlier about a lot of the health-related impacts that kids will face, short-term and long-term, if they don't get healthy foods. And so these are some of the resources. And of course, we've got our city of Toledo and our county, or Lucas County, through our board of county commissioners, all of whom have been extremely supportive. So do your research and understand what their funding priorities are, and understand what the deadlines are, as well as the reporting requirements are for some of the funding options that exist in our community. We need our kids to grow. to learn, and to thrive. It's important for us to do that. And it's going to take everyone. It's going to take resources from our community. It's going to take a number of things that need to happen in our community. And so the other thing I want to quickly point out is that, we have other resources as it relates to creating connectivity for people. So when you think of 211, United Way's 211, you think of ProMedica, ProMedica's Social Determinants Institute and the financial coaching and the support that they have to offer. And you think about the Area Office on Aging and the directory that they published to try to connect not just grandparents and not just seniors, but families to resources that are in this community. We have a myriad of media publications and other aspects in this community. And so I encourage you, do your research about what's available in this community. We have a very generous community. We have a connected community. We have a committed community, and we have a very engaged community. And so, before we close, I want to once again thank, Venture Visionary Partners, Taylor Automotive Family, KPM Consulting for really stepping up and making sure that this important conversation has been able to take place today. And so now we're going to move into question and answers. I've got Kevin who's going to assist by reading out some of the questions, and please be aware that a few of our speakers had to step off. So we'll try our best to answer those questions. And if we don't have answers, we will get those answers and make sure that we send them out to this group. Kevin?
Wendy, phenomenal job. Thank you to all of the speakers and presenters today. Lucy had thrown a message in the chat, just again, thanking everyone for being a part of this and encouraging you to visit their website. If you've got a question, type that in the chat and we will relay that to Wendy and to the speakers. But again, you can check the link out to be able to connect directly to the work that No Kid Hungry is doing here in Ohio. And Lucy kindly provided a link to all of that. Again, I encourage you to put any messages or any questions you may have in the chat. And we will relay those. At this time, they're either feverishly typing their questions or more realistically, I think y'all covered it. It was great. Wendy, phenomenal job. Thank you to you for the incredible work that you and Connecting Kids to Meals is doing in this community through your hard work, through the hard work of your staff and your board. And as you've said countless times, through the incredible community partners that you have as well. And I'm proud to be among those folks that get to support the work you're doing here. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, you guys, we did it in a little over an hour. The goal was an hour. And so I'm so grateful to you for taking time out of your day to join us today. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you leave here with something that will cause you to act and to take action in connection with helping our community to fight childhood hunger. It is about today, but it is about the future of so many of our future leaders that need your support and deserve your support. So thanks again. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at Connecting Kids to Meals. Visit our website at connectingkidstomeals.org, or you can always feel free to call me at the office. Happy to take your call, happy to take your feedback, and of course, happy to take any donation that you might want to offer. Have a wonderful day and happy holidays.